Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Donna Miller, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of Purse Power. Purse Power is working to help women use their massive purchasing power to drive positive change. We believe that if women who make 80% of all purchasing decisions would choose to buy from the companies that actually promote women, and we would do that in mass, and we could create a funding stream for battered women's shelters in the process, that we could shatter glass ceilings and change lives. So that's what Purse Power is trying to accomplish. We've been doing these shows since the beginning of the pandemic. We have about 84 episodes up on our website at pursepower.com/let's share the journey. And we put every Friday's episode up every Monday morning. And please do go check it out on our website. We have some amazing content on there. People tell us all the time how great our speakers are. And we've got another one today. So welcome, Dominique. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Dominique is one of my favorite names. I just love it.
Thank you. Thank you. I was told that a lot in school. I went to a Catholic French school, so the nuns growing up when I was younger, because we used to have nuns, they always told me, your name's French. Like, I do now.
I've been told that. Well, in that song, I learned the Dominica Nika song when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let me go ahead and introduce you and give the background, and then we'll go ahead and get into the interview. So you are the head of DE&I for Plug and Play, the Plug and Play Tech Center, which is one of the most active venture capitalists in Silicon Valley and the world's largest innovation platform. And I want you to talk more about that here in just a minute. Dominique noticed a lack of representation in the tech industry, and she wanted to have an impact. So this led her to build and launch Plug and Play's first DEI-focused initiative, Drive. And Drive stands for, as I understand it, diversity, respect, inclusion, vision, and equity.
Yes.
We want to learn more about that. So you're assisting and providing better access to funding for underrepresented founders, and you educate the broader ecosystem, I guess, on the value of DE&I in entrepreneurship. Okay. She's connected historically underrepresented founders of different backgrounds with giant corporations who are interested in similar initiatives. And I would love to help with that, because I want these small women-owned businesses to be the suppliers that are used by the big companies. She's always been fueled by social impact and innovation, and her early career began in the supply chain vertical at Plug and Play. She has been exposed to her role to the supply chain industry, including such major companies as Walmart, USPS, DHL, JB Hunt, and many more. Let's see here. Through this experience, she also witnessed how tech-powered innovation can really solve the internal needs of major corporations, and it can change the world for the better. I understand you also have a degree in psychology and sociology, which mine is similar, by the way. And I'm with you. We want to make a difference. That's what we're all about, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so she wants to build a community for underrepresented founders to grow and scale their businesses and be role models for the rest of us. So here we go. All right. So to begin, we want to get to know you, Dominique. So please give us an idea of your background. Like, how did you arrive at this point in your life and your career?
Yeah. Similar for a lot of other people at Plug and Play, but I started as an intern actually in 2019. And I was only meant to be here for the summer. At the time, I was going to Cal State East Bay in Hayward, California. Prior to that, I went to Sacred Heart in Atherton, California my whole life. So preschool through high school. I went to a private Catholic school, grew up in a very different environment. And that also fueled me to want to do more change for the world. And I kind of grew up in a bubble at Sacred Heart, and I wanted to get out of that bubble and be around more people that look like me. So that's why I chose to go to Cal State East Bay, because it's the most diverse school in California. And from there, I came to Plug and Play in 2019 for the summer. After my internship was over, they asked me if I could stay on full time. However, I was still a student, so I stayed on as part-time. When I graduated, I came on as full-time and worked my way up from intern to program associate to program manager to head of program for supply chain.
This is so cool. I love what you're doing. So tell us what you're trying to do for underrepresented entrepreneurs. And I wanted you to tell me how you define underrepresented. What does that mean?
Yeah. So why did I get into this work? When I was on supply chain, and I was leading the programming, I led it for our 5 different locations for supply chain, that team itself. So we have offices in Northwest Arkansas, Savannah, Georgia, Toronto, Canada, Northwest Arkansas, and then Silicon Valley. And I engaged and accelerated about 500 startups per year. in terms of like being in the program, but I met probably about 2,000 startups per year.
Wow.
And just given our model, and which I'll get into later, how our model is, but there were a lot of startups that I couldn't help. So a lot of them ended up reaching back out saying, hey, I still need help with mentorship. I need help with business development. I didn't make it into the program, but are there any other resources that could help me? And at this time, it was around COVID. So I knew a lot of people had time on their hands. This was at the very beginning. So I started leveraging our corporate partners, and I went to our corporate partners saying, hey, we have these startups that need help. And I was noticing, because of my background in psychology, I think, I noticed a lot of the founders that were reaching out came from some type of underrepresented background, whether they were female, Black, Latinx. So I went to the corporate partners and said, hey, can you find someone within your organization that has a leadership position that looks like these founders? Whether it's a woman, whether they're Black and in a leadership position, but I wanted them to have a mentor that looked like them to be able to get feedback. So that's kind of what led me to doing something more for underrepresented founders when it came to Plug and Play. So we did that series for a while. We saw it was getting a lot of attention and it was providing a lot of change. So we wanted to do something bigger. And I think because we're a global company, underrepresented can mean so many different things. But we are going with what the US considers underrepresented, which is basically any and everything. So that's what we'll go with.
Okay. Just for reference, I want to talk to you at some point. We've got a program where we're trying to help underrepresented people get access to high-tech careers. And I'm working with Sonia Stradhar, who I know you know, and we've got a path for people to go from being underrepresented, not having a lot of access to things, to actually making a lot of money in the tech field. So I'd love to talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see here. So tell me what role Plug and Play and Drive play in the high-tech ecosystem.
Yeah. So Plug and Play, like we said, we're a global company. So we have about 45 different locations around the world. And we have about 500 plus corporate partners sitting on our ecosystem. So some of the bigger name brands to some other corporations. And each year we engage with about 10,000 startups per year, and co-invest with about 200 VCs per year.
Yeah.
So we recognize that we're in a unique space, that a lot of people come to us, and we have a lot of different people coming to us. And we wanted to take advantage of this and take the time to educate everyone that is within our ecosystem about, what does diversity, equity, and inclusion mean? What are ways in which we can all come together and help, and really leveraging like the large platform that we have to provide better value. So that's what we wanted to do. So through Drive, we have 5 different goals of like what it is that we want to do for this initiative. And one of them would be to accelerate and develop underrepresented founders, but then 2, educating our community on the importance of why this is being done. If we're bringing in different people, we want to make sure that our ecosystem has the tools to talk to people that maybe they're not normally used to talking to. So educating them on microaggressions, unconscious bias, different things like that they can then apply within their daily life, but then also maybe take back to their organization. So we're working with different community partners that offer these types of trainings. And then the third is to build a community. So usually for Plug and Play, anytime we start a different industry or a different team, so for supply chain, we find the top corporations within supply chain to come in, share their best practices, and kind of educate our ecosystem on the importance. So that's the same thing we're doing with Drive. We're building a community of DE&I change makers, people within social impact coming from different companies to share their knowledge and best practices with our other corporate partners, with the startups that come through our ecosystem to help them build their own internal DE&I initiatives. And then 4 would be access to funding. I know a lot of founders struggle with access to funding. When you have something on top of being a founder, if you come from an underrepresented background, funding can be even more of a challenge. So Plug and Play ourselves, we want to be more intentional about the investments that we're making. And we're currently gathering the data of what we've done in the past, And I think like right now for our unicorns, we have about 30 public unicorns, about 20%
wow.
of it. Yeah,
Wow.
we released an article. So we actually hit our 30th public unicorn, I think last week.
Wow.
But about 10% of those unicorns come from an underrepresented background. So we thought without us being intentional about the investments we make, if we're more intentional and try to look more at the founders, then we can definitely find more unicorns and put more startups in our portfolio that come from an underrepresented background. And then the last is like we're a tech company. Our bread and butter is tech. And the corporate innovation platform in which we were talking about earlier, corporates come to us to find tech solutions to help them with their internal needs. So we want to do the same when it comes to DE&I. So if a company needs help building DE&I initiatives, there are definitely startups that can help them either gather data, build something to help the long run of their company when it comes to making sure their employees internally are satisfied. So we've had a startup called Syndio, which is a workplace equity platform, which we connected to our corporate partner, Willis Towers Watson, where they did that exact same thing. So they put them on a path to make sure their career development goals were in set, making sure their employees were paid equally. And it was a very successful partnership. They've now gone on to help Salesforce, Sweetgreen, other companies do just that. So we want to be able to provide more tech solutions like that.
Very good. It's interesting. You brought up a point that just sparked off something in my head. Apparently, when VCs listen to women founders pitching their businesses, they're most concerned about risk. And then when they hear males talk about their businesses, they're looking for opportunity. It's very interesting. The unconscious bias, to your point, it is there without people even realizing it or doing it on purpose, right?
Yeah. I'll say like at a previous employer, I had, I was like working for like hiring too. And I've had some employers say, like, we don't know if she wants to start a family, if we're going to lose her in a few years. So they don't want to bring her on because they don't want to have to find someone to replace her during that time. So it's definitely there.
I know. Okay, let's see here. All right. So is there a cost to belong to the organization, and what kinds of tools and capabilities are available to participants?
For Drive or for Plug and Play
specifically? Why don't you separate it however you need to separate it?
For all of Plug and Play and even Drive, there is no cost. Our corporate partners that are part of the corporate innovation, they pay us yearly, so their membership fee covers all of the costs. Which actually gives us an advantage that we have a broader range of startups that we can work with, because again, not everyone can afford to pay for accelerator programs.
Right.
So there's definitely no cost. However, there is a not downside, but there's a caveat to that, is that because our corporate partners are the ones paying for the programs, they're the ones that we have to find solutions that can help them. So say, when I was working on supply chain, I have to always use that as an example. Our corporate partners would come to us twice a year and say, hey, I need a startup that can help me with visibility. So we then have to source startups that can help them with visibility and put them into the program. So if you're not a startup that doesn't have a solution for visibility at that time, then it may just have to be a pass on the program. But through this Drive initiative, we are able to now Plug and Play has a vote of the startups that go into the program. So we're being more intentional about the vote that we have and making sure that we're voting startups into the program that come from an underrepresented background. And maybe it doesn't have the solution the corporate partner is looking for, but at least it gives them clarity to what other things are out there. But we just can't put a lot in the program that don't fit to what the corporate partner is looking for.
Well, I mean, what a huge boost for them to have a ready-made customer coming into the program. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. Very, very good. Wow. All right. So what are some of the biggest obstacles you see underrepresented business founders facing when they first get started? And how about further into their businesses? What challenges do they have?
Yeah. I noticed definitely at the beginning of their business, they don't have the right guidance. So a lot of times, a lot of the startups are doing things on their own. Which is okay. You learn from doing things on your own, but if you don't have a mentor, you don't have the right guidance, you have a very closed-minded idea of like what's needed. So I'd say like that's definitely like the downfall for any founder, but being an underrepresented founder too, maybe you don't know how to get the right guidance.
Yeah.
So I'd say like we have helped a lot of people try to get on the right track of finding, what do you mean? Like, what does the right guidance mean? How do I get the right guidance? So putting them on a pathway to make sure they have the resources they need in terms of starting out, and just asking for help from those people that can get you the guidance.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. I mean, speaking as an entrepreneur myself, you don't know what you don't know, and it's hard to ask if you're not aware of the resources there. So
yeah,
I think that's great that you can help. All right. Let's see here. So what are some of the top skills you think underrepresented entrepreneurs, and all of us actually have to be successful?
Yeah. I would say like one is like being persistent, and like there's a way to be persistent that's effective. Following up, it sometimes if you're not doing it in the correct way, it's not gonna get you anywhere. So if you're being persistent and saying, hey, I know I've emailed you, but here's another point in which I feel I can provide help to you, or here's another point in which I feel like I would really love for you to help me in. And just being persistent in that way each time you follow up, instead of saying, hey, did you get my last email? Just checking in to see if you got my last email. Like there's a difference. I would say is one. And then being relatable to whoever you're talking to. If you have like a common connection that you feel like you have, or, if you've done research on the person and say, hey, I saw like this last article that you had, really love like what you said here. Just having that common connection to say, to have that common factor would be like my top two.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Okay. All right. Let's see here. When you do see these highly successful technology entrepreneurs, let's talk about some of your unicorns, perhaps. What are the common factors that they have in common that allow them to be so successful?
Yeah. I would say a lot of them, because like if you listen to a lot of their stories, they didn't get there easily. They probably struggled a lot at the very beginning. And I think one of our unicorns, Fiscal Note, they just went public on the New York Stock Exchange.
Hey, congrats.
They came to Plug and Play years ago, and if you come to Plug and Play, like when you're in the program, we give you free meal cards, you can have free office space. And I remember they asked the founder of Fiscal Note, what was the most helpful to you coming through Plug and Play? And you would think they would say, oh, like having connections with different VCs, having connections with different EIRs. But they said the free meals.
The meal cards. They're starving entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And I only say that to say is like, they didn't, if just food was like a problem for them at the beginning, it doesn't mean that they got to be a unicorn very easily. They definitely worked hard, and their pathway was not easy for them. If meals were like a problem for them. And I know they said they're even working out of a Motel 6. So creating a pathway for yourself, and like, still being again persistent enough to not give up and think, oh, things aren't working, we don't have the funds, like we might as well give up. Like they never gave up. And it showed for the long run.
I've heard that that's the answer. That's what people have said, is that persistence, sticking to it, just slog it through no matter what you've got to do, is the factor.
Yeah.
And
find what works for you. I went to a conference in Miami a few weeks ago, and I met his name on Twitter is Mac the VC. I don't know if a lot of people know him. But I met him there, and he was sharing his story too, of like, he said, one, what inspired him to, make his own fund. And he said, I had a founder that I really wanted to invest in, and she had a really good idea, but no one was wanting to invest in her. And he said, what inspired me was for her to get her own fund. She became a surrogate mother of twins. And that's how she funded her company. And he said, it's not fair that people should have to do that. So he worked really hard, because like she inspired him to create his own fund so that he can invest in whoever he wanted to invest to. And then even his journey of creating his own fund, he quit his job. And he, it took him a very long time, but he raised all of his money from Twitter. And that's what worked for him. He didn't do the emails. He posted weekly on Twitter, just different things to catch people's attention. And, that's what worked for him. And it was successful.
Wow, that's wonderful. So that creative thinking too, it just, if you run into a wall, go around it, go under it, go over it, right? Figure out a way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are some of the common pitfalls you see for underrepresented entrepreneurs, and how can we avoid them? So are there themes in terms of what they face?
Again, relating back to what we said, is like a lot of them give up. It's good to sometimes give up on an idea, but not the whole thing.
Sure.
If one idea is not working, try to find a new idea, but don't give up on your company. Like, you can always shift the idea of your company. You can always change the direction in which it's going. Like, the world is constantly changing. It takes a long time to build a startup. Like, maybe what you built worked 2 years ago, but maybe it's not going to work anymore. But there's always a way to like shift something and change it to what works for now.
That's very encouraging. Thank you. I need that too. Okay. All right. Let's see here. So one of the things I thought about is that underrepresented founders have been up against a lot. They're probably pretty tough by personality, I'd imagine. I mean, can they capitalize on that, particularly in these rough times? How can it give them an advantage, actually?
Yeah. I think like right now in the world, and like within the past 2 years, we're in a very like unique time that like I don't know if it's going to stick around, of like people creating resources for underrepresented founders. There being a lot of things to help underrepresented businesses. And a lot of founders I've come across, they say they don't want to position themselves as an underrepresented founder, because at the end of the day, they're just a founder, which I totally understand. At the end of the day, everyone is just a founder. It shouldn't matter like what your background is. And I do understand that in the past, like pinning yourself as an underrepresented founder is something that would hinder you. But right now it's something that you can capitalize on. You should capitalize on during this time. Because again, I hope it's something that will be around for a while, but just given the world, people tend to focus on something for a few years and then it tends to die down. Unless there's another incident like George Floyd, which I hope there's not.
I hope not.
But that's what sparked the position we're in now. And speaking to a lot of corporations, that's what sparked all of their movements, is George Floyd. And there's just a lot of funds out there that are just being thrown out to help people during these times. So now would be the time to capitalize on your underrepresentation, because you don't know how long it's going to be here.
It's going to last. Do you have any kind of big resources that are out there that you can be talking about? And just like this funding, I know the Green Initiative, a lot of money's coming down from the government. What else do you see? Where's the money?
Yeah, a lot of it comes from government, like you said. 2 different accelerator programs, but I would say like also there's, again, I don't know the ins and out of all the other accelerator programs because I work for Plug and Play.
Sure.
But there, sometimes you will get a lot of money and you won't get a lot of resources. So you just always have to do your research. Like, I know there's a lot of accelerator programs out there, but you have to find like what works best for you. If capital works best for you and you're fine with just getting the money and not getting a lot of help and guidance, then okay, go for that. But also try to get the help and guidance and try to figure out, what is going to work best for me. Because a lot of these accelerator programs too, again, a lot of people are doing things just because of what happened with George Floyd, and they don't really know how to effectively do it, which ends up not providing a lot of help to other people later on. So a lot of times companies are just putting these quotas and putting these initiatives out there, but it's not creating meaningful change for the founders. So just do your research and, don't just take something because it's there, but also look at the people that are behind the initiative. If you feel like they genuinely want to help you, then go for it. But if you feel like it's something for them to fill their numbers, maybe it's not going to be the best help for you later on. But I would say like there's different accelerator programs out there. And connecting with people on LinkedIn too has been a huge thing, attending different events. Sometimes like a lot of things aren't public information, but a lot of things are announced during bigger events, and you have the opportunity to meet with those people in person if you go to the events. So networking is key to figuring out what different things are out there.
It sure is, man. I wanted to come out there so badly next week. I can't do it. I've got a conflict, but I know you got your big conference coming up or whatever drive, right? Your initiative.
Yeah.
How exciting. Wow. Who
You
can
were
come
here
to
for
that?
the last one though.
Yeah. Who can come to that?
So as long as it's technically a public event, but our registration link isn't public, but anyone that's within the tech world can come. Tech is such a broad term, but as long as you have a tech focused solution company, or you have different things that you can offer corporate partners, the best thing to do is to either LinkedIn message someone from Plug and Play explaining like what it is you do, and we'd be happy to provide the registration link to you to attend. But throughout the year, we host many other events besides this big one coming up. And we try to host them in different locations so that not everyone has to come to Silicon Valley. So always like following us on Plug and Play is the best way to figure out what events we have going on.
Okay, I'm going to do that. Because I'm out in the middle of the country. So that would be good. Okay, let's see here. So, this is a very fast moving interview here, but I want to see if there's 3 things that you want people to have learned from you during this time. What are those 3 things?
Again, I'm going to repeat it again. Be persistent. Be persistent with saying that. Be able to take honest feedback. Not all feedback that people give you is something that you should apply, but don't just shut off the feedback that people are giving you just because you don't agree with it. Really just look in and, if you feel like it's something that you should listen to and you've searched it in and out, really apply that feedback. And then 3, again, ask questions. Always ask questions.
One of the things that I struggle with, and I don't know if you have insight on this, is I get a lot of advice, lots and lots of advice, and it's hard to know what to take.
Yeah. I would say like I usually always write down my advice, and then because I have a lot of calls each month. So at the end of the month, I'll look at everything that I was given and I see, okay, is there anything that's repetitive?
Themes. Okay.
Yeah. And that's usually what I go with, because it's, again, you don't want to take every advice because maybe it will steer you in the wrong direction. Maybe that person doesn't really know what they're talking about and they're just telling you just because. But really, again, don't just, when you get advice, don't take it and run with it. Really do the research, see, and talk to other people about it too. Say, hey, I was given this advice. Again, if you have a mentor, pluses of having a mentor, take it to them and say, hey, I was given this advice. What do you think? But at the end of the day, you're the one that has to make the decision.
No, that's I like that technique. I'm gonna keep that. I just learned something I'm gonna use there. Okay, so how about actions you would like us to take? Are there actions that you'd like us to take?
LinkedIn is my main thing. Even on my downtime when I have slower weeks, I'll outreach to people on LinkedIn, just getting on an intro call with them, learning about what they do. Sometimes the calls go somewhere, sometimes they don't. Sometimes it's just a refreshing call for the day. But I've learned a lot from networking with people on LinkedIn that are within the DE&I space. I'm very new to it and I want to learn things as well. And not all the time I learn things from Google. You learn things from people that have lived experiences. So just network with people on LinkedIn, outreach to them in your downtime.
Okay, perfect. I want to follow up with you with a key contact if I haven't already for you, actually. Okay. Do you have any last thoughts to share? Anything you want to talk to us about, promote with us?
Drive. Right now. It's not on our Plug and Play website yet because the launch will be happening next week. But at the end of next week, you'll be seeing more stuff on Drive on our Plug and Play website. So definitely, there will be a self-identifying form on the website for you to fill out as a founder. You'll list, how you feel like you're underrepresented, whether you're a woman founder, a Black founder, and, you can select multiple. And then our team will outreach to you to see where we can plug you in. But our main thing is to, if we can't help you, we'll always try to connect you to someone that will, because we can't help everybody, but we always have different connections.
Wow, that's awesome. That is amazing. All right. This has been terrific, Dominique. I really, really appreciate you being here. I think Plug and Play is amazing. And I'm glad you're doing this work because I think it's really important. And you and I couldn't be more aligned. We're 150% aligned in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah,
So
it's hard work, but it's good work.
It's all good. All right. So what I'd like to do, I'll just go ahead and close the program, and then I would like to stay on for just a minute afterwards. So upcoming guests on November 18th, I've got Felicia Brown. She is with the AARP and she's their Director of Community Initiatives. So she'll be joining us. Of course, Thanksgiving is on the 25th. And then on December 2nd, I have Alan Weiss joining us, and he's the author of $1 Million Consulting. Purse Power and OU and McLaren Cares are partnering together to implement a new program that's designed to help underrepresented individuals get on the path to high-paying technology careers. We're working with very large companies that can absorb classes of 25 potential employees. And if you have an interest in this program, it is incredible. We're making a difference. We're launching it here in Oklahoma, but this is a national initiative. And we would appreciate it if you know of someone who would have that kind of interest, that you let us know. If you have an interest in supporting this program, please go to pursepower.com / I think buy us a cup of coffee. We'd appreciate it. And then please like and share our social media pages. We'd appreciate it. Tell your friends to join us. And please remember, Purse Power, we have it. Let's use it. All right. Thank you again, Dominique.
Thank you so much.